All right, guys, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to CC Live Constitutional Corner. My name is Maddie, and I am your hostess with the mostest. Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about patience and tolerance, because I think it's really important that we remember that in this movement, there are going to be people that we may or may not always agree with the way that they do their civil rights investigations, or they interact with general public, or they interact with other auditors, or maybe they're just the type of person that just wants to go out and be solo. For whoever it is, no matter what their age, their gender, so no matter where they come from, who they are, they're out there and they're doing the best that they can to try to support the movement. And I feel like even if you don't agree with the way that they do things, I feel like, because there's a lot of people that don't like how aggressive or how right up front I am. And I understand what the concerns are. Okay? Looks like I gotta switch off of Wi-Fi here. Okay. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I am back. Alright, so if somebody comes off as mentally ill, for example, and they go around and they do their audits as somebody who's mentally ill, it's a good way to gauge how police will react, or how public officials, not just police, but anyone, it's a good way to figure out how they will react and how they treat those citizens, those of us that are citizens like that. And we want to know how those citizens are treated. It is our business. Exactly, Patrick. Good point. Patrick said, who's to judge how normal is people are individuals? And that's exactly right, Patrick. Who's to judge? There's so many people out there that are getting into this. And there are so many people out there that I feel get into this without enough information to keep themselves out of trouble. But they're out there doing it. And, not knowing something is not a crime. So, we got to be patient. We got to work with the people that are outside of the movement and bring them in to with us, to help them so that they can properly exercise. Let me hold on one second. Here we go. Mr. Hemming. Mr. Hemming.
Yes.
Hi, sir.
Hey.
You are live on CC Live.
I can see that. That's pretty awesome.
So how are you tonight, sir?
Absolutely wonderful. It's been another interesting day here, and kids keep coming. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. As far as tolerance and patience with people, and this is not a profession. There's no school of thought. There's no
Thank you.
proper way or improper way. It's just a safe way or an unsafe way, a defendable position or an undefendable position. And that's what that is. And people have their opinions and they're entitled to them. And we appreciate the support and the viewers and everything else that goes along with it. But when it becomes critical that people start becoming critical of each other, then we start having issues. And so, and people make mistakes. And that's where we have to be tolerant of people making mistakes and say, okay, I get it, I go by it. But apparently, there's this issue where one little thing comes, like there's currently some concern about the editing of videos. This is their work product. This is their artistic work. They claim about, well, he stopped the video and did this, like proof, evidence, something, a sworn affidavit, some proof otherwise, other than what the Walmart person says or what the police department says. That's nothing. I asked the kid, and the kid tells me, no, I didn't. What am I going to do?
Well, that's a good point, Mr. Hemming. And, the whole thing is that every mind is a world, for one thing. So we're all going to see and comprehend things differently. Not only that, but, to make accusations without having any type of evidentiary support is not only unprofessional, but it's just downright wrong. I mean, on so many levels, so...
No, and there's nothing positive that can be gained from it, at all. Just like running around telling what somebody said about somebody. Really? Tell me how that benefits somebody. In any capacity. But anyway, let's end the gossiping rumor mill garbage.
Yeah.
And talk about the situations. Patrick has some incredible video in the last couple of weeks. He has let you know he has a very 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 important situation that happened to him today. And we're not gone public on that yet, but it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And here's this person who's out there every day, 3 or 4 audits a day, if not more. And every time he's having a derogatory encounter. And it's not because he's out there for a long period of time doing jumping jacks, swinging a samurai sword or anything like that. He's just a kid out there, clean shaven, not wearing anything out of the ordinary, respectful to the most part, and he's getting all these hits. He's endlessly, cops violating his rights over and over and over and over again, coming down, throwing down weapons, putting him in handcuffs, using force against him, having a chief of police put hands on him. It's just like, what the hell is going on here? And it's like, where many people would have said, oh, no, we're making headway. Apparently, Texas is in some type of time warp where they've never heard of Turner v. Driver. And so not understanding that they no longer have immunity. They no longer have immunity as a result of that. Prior to Turner v. Driver, they had immunity. They could say, hey, there's no constitutionally protected right to film police. Well, now there is. In the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal. Also, the whole issue about filming of a police structure or date and night or whatever. It's just simply not an issue any longer. And so yet these people still want. But the funniest part was when this one law enforcement officer misquoted Turner v. Driver. Just completely misquoted it 100%. And that just shows they kind of start to know what is going on, but they don't.
Why do you think that right now, Patrick is getting harassed more than most auditors? Do you think it's his age? Do you think that it's his approach? Or
well, it totally throws out the whole theory of white privilege because they're sure not extending it to him in any capacity whatsoever. He is a clean-shaven young kid, not overly aggressive, slight in build. He's no taller or bigger than any. There's no reason. It's easy to go after him. I guess again, it's easier to go after him because he looks smaller and weaker. Maybe that's what the situation is.
Yeah, because they don't seem to stand up to me the way that they're standing up to a lot of these auditors. Like, you take the Culver City post office. It wasn't that difficult to turn that postal police officer around and kick her out of her own post office. I mean, I guess it all depends, on the approach and how you look and
well, also you have maturity and time on your side. You've been in a cage before for whatever reason, and so those fear factors aren't a factor for you. where in cases like Patrick's never been in trouble with any sort of law enforcement activity as far as I know. And so his signs that he may be putting out might actually be triggering these bully officers. They see that he's a weaker individual, so they react to him.
You know, that's an interesting thing, and it makes me wonder if maybe if I really softened up my approach and almost appeared timid, would I get a different reaction in these investigations?
I'd say so. I think we've had that conversation before.
You know, I think I want to try that. I think I want to put it to the test, Mr. Henry.
Well, you know, it's like asking if they're the PIO or asking if they want to represent their agency, and is this how is this how they want to represent their agency? Because if you're the spokesperson for your agency, I think you're doing a bad job. You know, so that's what that boils down to. Is, you know, if you're what are you out here doing? You know, so each one, well, you're out here taking pictures. Okay, yeah, we got that. I told you what I'm out here doing, but what's your purpose? What is your purpose being out here? I told you what I'm out here for. Why are you here for me to interview you? Well, I mean, if you are here, can I get you on the record? Because, see what I'm saying? And a lot of times, because based upon observation, these people start getting these interactions, and they start, you know, backpedaling because they're scared. They're obviously scared because they think they're doing something wrong, or what. But Patrick is very experienced. He's been in some crazy situations where he's been under the gun multitudes of times, and you know, going out at night is a surefire way in Texas to get their attention. It's lawful. There's nothing wrong with it. I have no issue with them doing that. You know, because I don't. And you know, I actually think more people should go out doing night audits because it's a different officer that's working. Most people don't understand how the staffing works with law enforcement officers. They try not to have those who have supervisory issues or issues with contact with the general public have much contact with, you know, the administrative staff, so they don't have to know where they are. Just like why people work in the jails or why people work in the courts, it's because they have to be supervised endlessly. Like, for example, one of the individuals on the 300 list out here in Los Angeles, guess where he works? He works at the courthouse. Why? He has to be supervised 40 to 50 hours a week. So, you know, so that's what that boils down to.
And it's really interesting too. I mean, just the whole thing. So with this, with Patrick now, I mean, is he gonna have to stop because of all of these things that are going on? I mean, it's just piling up for him.
No, absolutely not. Why would he?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if, you know, because I know at one time.
No, he's no criminal charges pending. The only time that we really want someone to kind of slow down what they're doing is when they've had an incident where they've been arrested and now they have, you know, they've been injured, and we're trying to let the investigatory process do its investigation, or the criminal charges get the criminal charges either dismissed or found not guilty. And so there's other things that we would want to keep, because once a person's been targeted, we don't want to have them continually placed in a situation where their life is in jeopardy. Because anytime you go into custody, you could be Sandra Bland. Why would you want to be Sandra Bland?
Exactly. I just had an interesting question here.
I see it.
Okay.
Well, by case law, we can, for example, with Turner v. Driver, and then Fields versus Philadelphia, and then out here with many other cases, and the Ninth Circuit, qualified immunity is going out the window on a lot of things. So don't think that it's a guarantee for anything. You know, district attorneys lose qualified immunity by breaking the law. In California, it's not hard for that to happen if they fail to disclose exculpatory evidence in a criminal matter. Judges can be found to lose their qualified immunity if their acts are so grievous and egregious. And so there's ways to do it. Don't, you know? And then what you have to do is change the state law, and you have to. That's what have to have, state law or federal law. But it'd be very difficult to do that because these members of the judiciary are law and order types. They look at the necessity of law enforcement and don't see past it. And the last thing they want to do is go against these very people that offer them protection of power. Is under, you know, that's where they are the foundation for everything they do. And without them, they have no voice. They have no power.
Right.
So you're not going to have too many judges that are willing to step against that, even the Supreme Court.
Now, speaking of California, when I went out to California, and you know where I was hanging out, especially all night that night, you taught me something. How can we push for other states to do what California did with the Bain Act?
Legislation. Depending on the state, you can have referendum. One thing we have here in California and Florida is the power of the referendum. And you start off with signatures in some states, and you go from there. Each individual state would have to look into how they get bills passed in order. It's the Bain Act, BANE Act, Bain. And that's what Nutsack was trying to figure out what the Bain Act.
Yeah.
Is. California. It's Bain, BANE, like the guy from Batman.
And it's basically what, like a civil 1983 against like a citizen?
No. It's California's version of 1983, except for it can be prosecuted by the state, as in the government, or by private citizens, and so it can work both ways.
Oh wow! Okay, that's interesting. See, we learned something new. That's why I love having you on here.
Oh, now you want to talk about? So they call it freedom. They found guilty of. It's contempt. So he has to file an appeal, and he takes it before the appellate court, and then the appellate court will decide. Yeah, I know he's in Florida. I know all about that individual. There's not too many people I don't know.
And just for the record, I did go to Mr. Hemming and make sure that it was brought to his attention, and he's well aware of it. So, Mr. Hemming, is there anything you want to talk about? Why don't we give you some time about what you want to talk about?
There is a documentary that was made about Michael Bell. And Michael Bell was killed November 9th, 2004 in Wisconsin. His father took the settlement money from the civil rights lawsuit and created a production called Forensically Impossible, The Anatomy of Police Cover-Up. I just shared the link on the Black Coat Media Facebook page. Mr. Bell is a good guy, and his son. The video of his son being killed is there, and it's unfortunate. It's just one of those situations where
it's really sad.
An unarmed man was killed by law enforcement officers, and they lied about it. And then we got another case coming up here real soon, here in California. A gentleman by the name of Vicente Gonzalez. Vicente Gonzalez was killed by the Huntington Park Police Department. We're getting ready to. We've already filed on that. We filed, I believe, that one early portion of last year, and we've got. No. Actually, we filed it on the anniversary of it. So we just filed this like in October 1, and we're moving with that one moving forward too. That's a $100 million lawsuit against the city of Huntington Park that were on scene for seconds before they killed him.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's and the local news coverage only talk about how he had a pipe in his hand. The gentleman weighed less than 98 pounds. He was less than 5 feet tall.
I remember that video.
He was less than 5 feet tall, and it was HIV positive. He had a psychological break upon his discovery of his HIV status, and he was homeless for 4 years prior to him being killed. He had no derogatory police encounters at all. Nobody within the homeless community had ever had any derogatory encounters with him at all. What had happened, there's a service railroad over here in Huntington Park where city workers had gone by and were cleaning it up. And, he had made his domicile, his home, on the railroad tracks. And his cardboard were his designs. He was a costume designer for traveling Mexican bands, the Los Ramblers, and he was known for his ornate artwork and how he would use regular stones and then polish them up and do all this great stuff. And so this wasn't a non-violent guy. So they tried to make the claim that he was throwing rocks in him and doing all this stuff. Meanwhile, these are two motorcycle cops, Officer Farmer and Mendoza. They were on scene seconds. They claimed they used a taser. There's no body-worn camera footage. There is, somebody claims that there is a cell phone or citizen journalist video of it, but the gentleman is so scared he ran back home to Mexico and is unwilling to share it. But that's fine. That's not a big deal. The evidence is there that shows that there was no necessary use of force. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office did not review the matter, obviously. Otherwise, Farmer and Mendoza wouldn't have been promoted 7 and 10 days after the shooting. And so it's just one of those things where he laid on the tracks for nearly 10 minutes while there was a rescue right down the street staging. And so that's one of those things where, because he was a homeless man and people didn't really get much news about it, it goes unnoticed. But meanwhile, his mom is 80 some odd years old, lives in Mexico. His sister lives up in Sonoma County. She's been living here for quite a long time, and if not for this psychological break, who knows what would have happened? But instead of offering this guy help, they went ahead and assassinated him. I think what happened was they claimed they deployed their ECD or their taser, and it was called sympathetic fire. The pop of the taser caused the individual with his firearm out to discharge his firearm because only one shot was fired. And so we'll see what happened. I don't foresee this ever going to depositions, though we'd like to get those people on the stand. We definitely like to get them on the stand, or at least under oath to discuss this. But odds are they will move to settle this as soon as possible.
Wow. The stuff you have to deal with, I mean, that's quite a bit, though, to, because you think about that years to come, the way that they did that.
No, it is. You have to live it.
Yeah.
I remember we went out there and interviewed the family the night that within days after it happening, just like with the Dylan Tavares case. I went out and talked to his mom. I actually went out to the shooting site, and there was his mom just sitting there. And I sat there and talked to her about her son and about, how could this have happened? And, I didn't know of his history of just being released from prison just a couple of days before, and that he had not reported to his PO. We have clients like that. We do. And these are individuals that we've met their moms out in the hallways of courthouses crying their eyes out because their son is a non-medical compliant paranoid schizophrenic who had an episode where he struck somebody else's child, and then now he's in custody, and they allow him to plead guilty, but yet he's not competent. I mean, I got stories for days about individuals like that. Like, that's a gentleman by the name of Stephen Brown, and he was released by San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department even after notifying that, hey, this guy shouldn't be released. His mom has a guardian. He's been committed. His mom has authority over him, and they wouldn't recognize her authority. So he was roaming the streets from November until middle of December until he turned himself in, because we were looking for the guy. The city police wouldn't assist us with tracking him down or enforcing the order. So he got to a point to where he turned himself in, and now he's getting the necessary psychological help he needs in custody. So that's a positive. And then there's we run into these situations all the time. We work directly with the Veterans Legal Institute. We do their criminal and civil rights matters. They come to us. We because of our activism and activities in the hallways of the courts, I've been successful in intervening on people taking pleas that they shouldn't have taken, and people that have had veterans that have been able to get veterans deferral because of PTSD or other things that, here they are trying to self-medicate with alcohol, get caught with a DUI, or get caught with a domestic violence, or get caught with doing something else. When they, if anyone deserves another shot or another shot of assistance, it's someone who has, put it all on the line, under this ideology of statism. But hey, they were indoctrinated at the time. They believed what they were doing was right. They come to find out typically after they return home that everything was not all rainbows and sunshine. And so it happens. But we're not going to stand idle and not let these people be represented.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what your firm is being built on, is helping everybody pretty much.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, absolutely. We got a phone call yesterday from a woman who is living with her adult retarded son in a van over in El Monte, which is the town east of Los Angeles, and where local sheriffs start tuning him up, and so he's in custody, and so there's all these issues here. So we're just trying to, a lot of these people would go unrepresented, and if not for people, we're not alone in this. I wish more people would get involved, but these people got to pay their bills, and I understand that, and it's a hard business decision for some people to make. We just like to keep our karma bank full and try to do the right thing by people and try not to say no and try to make things happen. It's a difficult situation sometimes. We are dealt some of the hardest cases people can be dealt. We have individuals that are in custody, for ridiculous things. We have a case that we just signed. We've been working on him for his civil rights matter, but he was previously represented by another criminal attorney. This gentleman's name is Alfredo Morales. Alfredo Morales was shot and nearly killed by the Ontario Police Department. It's a horrible story.
My goodness.
He had a psychological break. He's a diabetic. He was going through moments of depression. He had a moment of outrage and said some things he likely shouldn't have said. And his family made a mistake. They called the Pomona Police Department. And the Pomona Police Department, once they found out he had firearms, all of a sudden he is now a brown guy with a gun. And now they're going to try to hunt him down and make sure he doesn't do anybody any harm. They track him on down to this hotel in Ontario where he had calmed down and was talking to his daughter, and everything was again how people get upset. You deal with people in crisis. You get used to getting them down to the purpose of that there is some sense of neutrality. They're going to eventually get to that point of not being triggered anymore. Well, he had calmed on down and he was returning his cell phone to his friend who had been with him the whole time, in and out of the hotel room. And when the guy was out sleeping in the car, he said, "Hey, man, I'm good, man. Go ahead and go on home. Go do your thing." He had his daughter on the phone, and he goes to walk out the door and close the door behind him, throwing the night latch to catch the door like at a hotel room so your door doesn't close. And he goes to turn, and he's lit up. He's shot a minimum of 12 times that we can tell.
Oh, my goodness.
With 45 caliber ACP, you got to understand the history of that round. That is a man-killer round. That round was designed to kill men, to put men down the first time it hit them. It was designed after the Spanish-American War in the Philippines with Colonel Black Jack, whatever his name is, where they came up where they had used the 38s to try to take down these Muslims in the Philippines, and they weren't doing anything to them, so they had to come to the 45 round. Well, he got hit at least 12 times with 45 round. He lost a testicle, lost 3 fingers.
Oh my God!
He's been in custody now, getting ready to go on 2 years. Again, that's what happens when you have people that don't have the best interest of their client in mind. Our number one priority with our clients in criminal cases is to get them cut loose as quickly as possible, by any means necessary, up to include bond. Now, understand bonding, if you can afford it, it'll work great for you. But if you can't afford to get bonded out, then we got to work in a way to get your case heard as quickly as possible, so you can get you cut loose. And so that's what we do. And not every case moves fast. And that's what I try to explain to people in the process. Is that the only thing that happens fast is the incident or the arrest. There are some exceptions in long-term cases, but most of the time it's an instant that something happens, and then you're just making up for the event on the backside.
Yeah, and you guys do it so well. I mean, you and Krista are definitely a powerhouse. How about a couple of minutes? Can we open this up to questions, Mr. Hemming?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, so guys, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open it up a couple minutes. You can ask Mr. Hemming some questions, and we'll see if maybe we can get some of those questions answered. Also, while I got you here, a funny little story. Mr. Hemming, you were actually in Playboy.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty wild, huh?
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, back in, I guess it was maybe 2015 or something along the lines like that, back when I was with Photography is Not a Crime, we were, Playboy was doing an article on a new sort of journalism, which is citizen journalism, cop watching. And we met with a good friend of mine, Alex Salazar. He was the point of contact for that out here. And really, he's not a citizen journalist, but he's a former LAPD officer, was involved in the Rampart scandal. His sister's a whistleblower who's married to the supposed next chief of police, because Charlie Beck's retiring for the city of Los Angeles. And the reporter came on, and we introduced him to our California guys, our Tom Zebra, Catman, and Ricky Monday. And this was back then, and it was in, I guess, May of 2015, but the article wasn't released until November. And so that was a wonderful thing, and it was described me as a bearded barrel of a man who's there with these guys, legal advisor, but I didn't go to law school. this is all true, but that's what people tend not to understand is that I'm not offering my services for free. I mean, I offer my services for free. I'm not giving advice. I'm just sharing, sharing my opinion. Now, if you want the legal opinion, I'll turn you over to Krista, and Krista can give you that legal opinion. But it is what it is. The people have that confusion when people are, oh, I'm calling my attorney. No, you're calling your law firm. You're calling the firm that represents you. You're going to get the client relations person. You might get the public safety liaison for Black Coat Media, whatever title. I mean, I call it whatever you want, whatever term the cops want to hear to because they're all about titles. You have these people that are about titles. I'm gonna give them a title. Well, who are you? Well, my name's Felipe Hemming. I'm with Black Coat Media. I'm the public safety liaison for our media outlet. No, not telling them I'm actually the media outlet and all that other great crap. But then I tell them, say, hey man, I hear where you're coming from. I contact you guys because I know how to speak the lingo. I mean, I know what you guys are going. But I want to let you know that the guy or gal that you're holding is a journalist. They work for us. They're there documenting the exterior structure. It's kind of weird that you guys are approaching him like that. I mean, is this like something you guys train on? Yeah, let's run with that. And you start asking him questions, and I don't tend to give him a lot of time to talk, but eventually I do let him talk. I don't, because I want to just. I believe if I have their ear, that I'm just drilling this on home, and I don't care if it's recorded. Odds are I'm recording the conversation too, just because I don't want them to say that I called them harassing them, because there was this whole Keith Golden or Bama Camera Wetumpka, Alabama thing. That was a whole, that goes way on back. A lot of people are just kind of new to what's going on. But the photography is not a crime. They didn't really have this outreach to others. They weren't providing any legal services. They weren't or anything like that. So that's essentially what we started to do, and they weren't doing any massive research, and they weren't getting public records, and they weren't doing a whole lot of anything except benefiting off the works of others. So that's why I don't run ads on Black Coat Media. That's why I don't do anything of the sort like that. We try to work with our clients the best we can to make things happen, and understand that we can't be everything to everybody. But the one thing you're not going to do is you're not going to treat me badly, you're not going to treat my wife badly, and you're not going to call me and treat me like a piece of shit on the phone, because it's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
Because it's like this, like I explained to Patrick a little while ago. You don't go to your mechanic and expect them to change your oil for free, do you? Well, no, I don't expect them to do that. So why would you expect someone to get legal services for free? Or that you think that civil rights lawsuits, or that somebody made a comment, well, in my last case, the attorney didn't ask for this. Okay, go get them. Go get that person. Well, no, they're not licensed here in California. Well, okay. All right. So what's your plan? We don't operate that way. And I explain the billing, and I explain why I do it. As it's $500 to file a federal civil rights lawsuit. $500. That's what it is.
That's what you told me too. Yeah.
And then we're supposed to work for free. We really and truly, every single one of these complaints are one of a kind works of art. They are. Go read Hernandez versus County of San Bernardino. Go read that. Then go read other people's pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. Some people will throw some shit on paper, charge their client out the ass to do it, or not charge their client out the ass to do it, and they don't give a fuck. And if I'm being too salty, I don't care. So that's just the way it is, and that's the way I normally talk anyway.
Yeah. We have our first question from Oklahoma Community Watch with Oklahoma's cameraman. If one of the auditors here in Oklahoma get into a jam, will you be able to help?
Yes, ask Kyle. Absolutely. Yes. We can help people anywhere. The limitation to our law license is only slowed down by a legal term called ProHack DJ, and we're developing a network of attorneys nationwide that will work with us. Our next expansion is into Utah, because Utah is a UBE state, and a UBE state will allow Krista to practice law in other UBE states, to include Oregon. And that's another goal is, so if there's a UBE state and you want representation in your UBE state, let's find some way to do that. Let's find some way to expand our ability to help other individuals understand. And being a member of the bar costs money to be a member of the bar. Getting able to taking a bar exam costs money to take the bar exam, and other stuff like that. So it benefits people in the long run, because you're not, because now you're not having to shop around for an attorney, at least your attorney gets what you're doing and understands what you're doing and watches the videos and knows everything there is to know about our clients. She does. So like, for example, we're working on the Eli Ritchie appeal case on his stalking order. Chris has spent hours watching Bob West videos, Chris Ponte's videos, Mike Smith videos, and knows every single one of them and knows the way these officers behave. And so that's what it is. So, and understand that we're doing everything we possibly can in many of these situations, and it just simply requires people working with us.
Well, and and it's not free, like you're saying. It costs money. Krista, for one thing, has to sit there and watch all these videos. I mean, how many hours and hours and hours did she have to sit there and do that? I mean, that's part of the job, but that's still not something that she would be doing unless she was somebody's attorney.
You're not going to find other attorneys to do that.
No, you're not.
That's what you're not going to find, and you're not going to find that. And to understand and can explain what a First Amendment audit is, what cop watching or cop blocking is, and understand why it's completely legal to do that, and can explain it to other attorneys of what it is and why it's lawful and legal and why their employees have violated the law. Believe me, here in this case with San Bernardino, they were going to try to convince you that Felipe Hernandez somehow caused injury to gigantic ginger John Holmes. The hero. John Holmes, the hero.
Yeah.
That's what they want to call him as. They gave him a little ribbon and said, "Thank you for carrying that first aid bag in there and that workplace violence in there." They want to convince you that it wasn't workplace violence, but it was workplace violence. The guy had worked there for years. All of a sudden he gets on the phone talking about ISIS. Come on, get out of town, pal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
can you explain what that UBE state is? What is that, and how do you find out if you're part of that?
Universal bar exam.
Oh, okay.
It's a many states have gone to it. Like, for example, if you want to take a bar exam in New York and New Jersey, you sit down for that tri-state bar exam. It's New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and that's what it is.
Okay. All right. So you can just practice in those states if they're connected, I guess, or
you take the bar examination and you apply those scores to your application, and then you pay for the background investigation.
Oh, I see.
It's all a process. It's all a process. And then but there's other ways around it, but that's one of the quickest ways to do it. In the meantime, that's the method that we have to do. And as far as anyone that want to know what the retainer is, you can call us at 888-571-5535, and we can discuss your case individually and figure out the best way to handle your matter. But they're typically universal.
We got New Jersey Devil here. Police stop you for a traffic violation and no canine there. Can they bring one to search your car?
Well, on ability or law? Ability, yes. Obviously, they have radios and they have guys with dogs, and they say, "Yo, Tony, bring me that fucking dog over here. We're going to go harass this fucking guy." But in this situation here, it's an attainment that extends past 14 minutes. And I think it's Rodriguez. And they can only detain you on roadside long enough to write the ticket. Period. Period. And so when they extend that, it becomes an unlawful detention. And it depends on what you want to do. It depends on how you want to handle it. So understand these dogs. Don't consent. Don't volunteer anything. But if the driver of the vehicle is ordered out of the car, you got to get out of the car. There is no. It is what's called a custodial detention. That you are being detained. You're being detained for a traffic infraction. So the occupants in the motor vehicle are not required to exit under Heibel versus Northern Nevada. It's a Supreme Court case, unless they have reasonable articulable suspicion that they are committing a crime or have committed a crime. That's the whole deal. So so that's what that situation is there. Now, how you want to play it is completely up to you. There's recent video involving some close friends of ours where they articulated that and they were forcibly removed from a vehicle by force and injured. Now, is that going to result in a lawsuit? Oh, you bet your ass it's going to result in a lawsuit. Is it going to result in anything else? Depends on the agency. Things are changing. Things are changing. We have some allies that are running for office as sheriffs, and they're like-minded. They realize that there needs to be change in law enforcement, and they're getting it. They understand it. The current sheriff for L.A. County is one of those guys, Sheriff McConnell, and then this other gentleman up in Sonoma County. They want to interact with activists. They get what's going on. They want to be like Art Abbazito, where Art gets what's going on. That's how Art was able to have his meeting. Some people say it was for show, but he had a meeting where he told his chief of staff that, hey, if you don't like the way I run my business, or if you don't support what these guys are doing, then you should probably retire. And he had a better job a couple weeks later, but that's what it is.
Exactly. Now, what if we were to take this the same scenario and put it at a suspicionless border patrol checkpoint? I know you know where I'm going with this because we've had this conversation. What are your rights when you get to that checkpoint?
Well, there was a case brought to the Supreme Court recently by Rick Ryerson, and it was denied cert. They say that the authority of the Border Patrol extends 110 miles inland, and those are inland inspection facilities. Now, what you're required to identify yourself, I think the question is, are you an American citizen or not? That's the question they ask. Now, anything further than that, I don't know. I mean, sometimes they don't even ask. Now, it's debatable. I'll get the Falcon comment in here. Let me pick that up real quick.
All right.
We're not. We're not.
Somebody called your line probably from the chat.
I mean, it is. It's a real number. It's not fake.
It's real.
It's real.
But I mean, do you have any kind of constitutional protections when you get to these?
You sure do. You sure do. But people would argue, and they still argue, especially in the South, that your name is not private information. They want to argue that. That's Louisiana with David Warden's case in Pineville, because they would like to believe that because he didn't give his name, that he was required to give his name, and that somehow he violated the law. All right, if you want to believe that, but it's not the case. But as far as those inland checkpoints, yeah, what else are you going to do? I mean, a lot of people have not answered, and there's been consequences. Have they gotten paid in the process? Oh yeah. It's just what you do. You just can't resist. You just can't, and you got to document everything. And so, no, this is a civil disobedience. I have a Fourth Amendment right. You got to articulate why you're not doing it. And that's as silly as that may sound, it's true. Just like if you're being arrested for documenting police activity, you've got to tell them that it does help to say this is First Amendment protected activity. What you're doing violates my constitutional rights, and that should be the number one thing that is written on these police reports. This fucker wouldn't stop saying that shit. He wouldn't stop saying this is constitutionally protected, and to say it till you get a sore throat. And that way they'll get in the report going, hey, what was in the report? We fucking kept on saying it. Eventually someone's going to read that and go, is this fucking guy right? Is it a constant, that would be the hope if the person writes it, but many of these officers want to write revisions to their reports. And I'm okay with that, but what they don't realize is their revisions to reports are you can track them. You can see their revisions to the reports. You can see how if you ask for, hey, I want all revisions of the report. What? Yeah. Go into the metadata and get all the revisions for the report. I want to see how many times this report was edited prior to him signing it. Like, how the fuck do you know about that? Well, it's the way it is. Because that's the way it is.
And then their jaws hit the floor, and
no, they realize they've been caught.
And that's why you don't, when you first get into these situations and the bracelets actually go on, and you do actually have to get the bracelets on in order to be actually arrested, right?
That is understand the use of handcuffs as an escalation of force. Those are just not for detention. You could be custodially detained without handcuffs being on you. Some people would like to take it to the level that they didn't put handcuffs on you. If you articulate, am I free to go, and they say no, then you're being detained. You're being detained. And so if I leave, what are you going to do? Well, I'm attacking you. Okay, so now it's in a threat of coercion. So that's what that is. So does it have value? Yes, absolutely it has value, especially California under the Bain Act, because they're using coercive tactics to violate your rights. And they're doing it knowingly that they're violating your rights. So yeah, but it's difficult to people are not really thinking when this happens to them. A lot of times they're surprised. They get pulled over, and next thing you know, holy shit, what did I do? And they weren't doing anything wrong, and they're like, this is totally bullshit. And so instead of listening to what's going on in the window, just roll down the window. Don't roll it down as much as you want. You can roll into it. Yeah, I feel comfortable with this. And turn on all the lights. Keep your hands exposed and open. Where are you going? Down the road. To where? To where I was going. That kind of shit. Don't give them any direct answers. And that's what. How does this apply? What are you pulling me over for? I'd like to color your hair. Okay, whatever. They get pulled over for all kinds of reasons.
Well, and a lot of times, and we all face it as civil rights investigators when we go out and do these audits. You'll get the cops, and they'll come and they'll follow you back to your car and attempt to pull you over and conduct a quote unquote legitimate traffic stop, which we all know is BS.
Janet News Now, No Time to Change, New Jersey. She knows all about that. And News Now Houston and all these other guys, they know all about that being pulled over. Philip Turner. There's a case out of Galveston that again, if you're new to this, you don't know all these stories, and you don't, and you should really look into them. Philip Turner was down with David Warden prior to David Warden becoming News Now Houston. It was down in the Galveston area. This is after the whole Archie, whatever the fuck his name is, assaulted him, and he was down there. Well, this is kind of right at the same time this happened, and actually, this is the same time this happened. They went looking for Philip's car, and they had Philip's key fob for his car, and that's how they found his car. And they broke into his car. They used the sheriff's department pickup truck.
I remember that.
And we went and found out who all these guys are, and started asking these informations to where this Villa. Now I'm looking to remember all these people's names. The Villa Robles guy and all this. He got in the truck and he was a supervisor, and he should have been criminally charged. They actually did criminally charge this Galveston police officer with breaking into Philip's car, but because his foot didn't go in the car, they didn't charge him. Could you fucking imagine that? The judge, because this is the trick these cops pull, because you have a right to a trial by judge or by commissioner or by a jury. So he chose, of course, he's going to, Darren Wilson, what did he get? I want a trial by a judge. Or these other guys, I want a trial by a judge. And what's that going to happen? What's going to happen with that? Come on, man.
Absolutely nothing.
You're going to get a fucking walk. Nothing's
going
to fucking happen.
There's no accountability when it's...
No. So that's what happened there. So the guy got a fucking walk. And, and that was a big deal. That was the Galveston Police Officers Association. But also, one of the very first stories I covered for Photography Not a Crime was out of that same area where fucking guy lost his fucking job. Two guys lost their fucking jobs. One guy who was working at Whataburger, who was some fucking investigator for the district attorney's office, and the other guy was some shit stain working for the police department. And he had demanded this young woman. I don't think she was identifying as a woman. This young person that she had to give ID or she was going to jail. And are you kidding me? And it was all on the phone. And then we got the dash camera video, and we fucking caught the guy. They released the dash camera video and the in-car camera without knowing what was on it, not knowing that we caught their employee fucking up.
Wow! And then they cover it up.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
they fired that stupid ass, and the other guy got fired. So. It happens. We've been quite successful at getting these non-union protected shit stains fired. Oklahoma's a good place for it. Texas is a good place for it. We had a guy that me and Philip had worked on together where it's one of these stories. Philip has worked on a lot of good stories as a journalist. Prior to doing what he was doing, he did some really in-depth research into different, and people were giving him tips, and he was responding to these tips. And these were some of these crazy things where, hey, you might want to look into this Mitchnick guy. This Mitchnick guy, who was a lieutenant, who was one of these guys that when Philip wanted to go get a complaint form, he ran into this guy. Just look him up under Missing, and we got all the dirt on that motherfucker, and we brought that attention to his bosses. That dude lost his fucking job. They had no idea that he had been fired from 3 different California fucking police departments. One while on probation, he jumped on the hood of the fucking car and shot into the car. Clang, 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 like it was in a fucking motion picture or something like that. Then he goes up to Oregon and gets fired within the first 11 months of being there. And guess where he winds up? I guess the toilet's flushing. You wind up in Texas, and that's where you wind up in Texas.
Oh my God!
And he's a fucking lieutenant. How the fuck is that?
Well, I mean, we all know that the shit rises in these police departments. I mean, let's look at Putnam County for a minute. You know, I mean, you got now Colonel Wells, who was a captain who was fired from the Palatka Police Department for falsifying official court documents and official police documents, goes over to the Putnam County Sheriff's Office after being terminated, quickly rises to captain in charge of internal affairs. And look, well, you already know what he did with Jeff Gray.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I mean, what is going on? Why are we allowing all of this trash in our public servants? Why are we allowing it?
Here's what happens. A lot of people don't understand this because they're not involved and they really don't know how it works. Once an individual gets their post certification, which is Peace Officer Standardized Testing, I think what POST stands for. It's essentially a cop license. Sometimes, in some places, they actually call it that. In Missouri, I think you actually have to have a license to be a cop. Okay. And so, once you get post-certified, you can go anywhere in the United States as a police officer. Really and truly. That is the one thing that gets you in through the door. And a lot of agencies will hire you laterally and you'll start at a senior rate, 3 to 5 years on the job. You're not going through the academy because you already know how to lie and you already know how to beat people up and you know how to walk the thin blue line or whatever it is. And so they hire you. But what happens is these people, instead of being fired, they're allowed to quit before they're fired. So there's no derogatory thing on their record, and these agencies are not required to report them. So that's why we try to encourage individuals to file police complaints against these individuals, because they become part of their personnel record. And when these agencies now do a public records request or do a request for their records, everything's there. And there's some good states that allow that to happen. In Florida, we can get their whole file in half. Hell, we got a video of a plantation detective fucking choking his chicken that he had sent to fucking some lady. Really, truly, the guy fucking running a batch right there on fucking camera that he had fucking sent to somebody. You're like, what? How the fuck you get that? Hey, that's what the fuck I do. I get that shit. I mean, that's what I did before for Tiger Sign Crime. I'm the fucking guy. They want to give you labels. You're the public records guru. Okay, whatever the fuck you want to call me. I don't give a shit. You're the chief investigator. All right, you guys with these fucking titles, I don't give a shit. Or whatever it is, just call me Felipe. That's really I care about. I'm not looking for any type of glory. Fuck, what the fuck? I just know that people need help, and when they need help, I'm gonna be there for them.
I definitely understand that, and I'm definitely with you on that one. And if I had more transportation, you know me, I'd be everywhere. If there's a problem,
that's what we're trying to work on. Honestly, we're trying to work on that. And that's a growing project, and that's how we do that. That's how we get these videos shared. And that's where the power of the sharing. There's 153 subscribers. There's 17 people watching. Each one of these people know 10 people. And know 10 other people. Share it. Share it. Share it with other people.
Exactly.
And network and find commonality. Find more reasons to like people and less reasons not to like people.
Exactly. And yes, this is going to be left for anybody to watch later. This will be ready to post. I'm not going to mess with it at all. But absolutely, and you and Mrs. Hemming have been a key and have been involved in this for so long. It's ridiculous. I mean, you go back quite a ways doing this, with photography and Felipe, Carlos, and all those guys.
I don't even know where Carlos is at right now. His Facebook page disappeared. Joshua Brown's the only one publishing there. And it's not like I don't like the guys. It's the fact shit went sour. Shit went south, and that's not what it was. It's nothing. No, there's no hatred or anything like that. It's just the way it is. It is what it is. There's some people that are overly tender about the way things are run, or it is what it is. I'm not a perfect person. How long would it be for me to be in your position? Man, you gotta understand who I am. You gotta understand who my father was. You gotta understand the life that I lived. And so, to be like me, I don't know if that's even possible. I've spent a lifetime learning and opening my mind up and experience and not accepting this. And some people, I had a guy talk about anarchy being a mental illness. And yeah, I do have a diagnosis. And it's not paranoid schizophrenia or anything like that. I have, I think they call it anti-authoritarian disorder. I don't like tyrants. I mean, I have my mental health professional actually wrote on it, cannot work with stupid people. Wrote it down there. No bullshit.
I love it.
And that's the truth. I can't. He knows. He cannot work with fucking stupid people. And that's what that means. And it's the worst is when a stupid person gets a little bit of knowledge. And it's called Dunning-Kruger effect. All of a sudden, they get a little bit of information in their head and become. And really, one of the best things you do is just shut the fuck up. Just shut up. You don't know everything. If you fucking shut up and listen, you're going to learn a whole lot more.
Exactly.
And I spent a lot of time listening to my father talk. Understand, my father beat the United States government pro se at that time of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It was not the 11th Circuit. It is now. And they tried to hem his ass up on conspiracy, but you also got to know who he was and what he was involved in. That dude was, there's a lot, that's a whole different guy, and he did a whole lot of different things. And so, but my experiences of being his son and knowing what he knew and what he shared with me and the lectures that I had from him and the experiences that I got to experience and the clients that I got to work with and the people that I got to meet made me who I am. You can't, you'd have to go through a lot of different shit to get there. But yes, knowledge-wise, sit back and listen, learn and read, learn the terminology, learn how the different venues work, the different types of courts, and understand that they're not correlated, except when it goes to the Supreme Court, whether it be the United States Supreme Court or the state Supreme Court. There are maximums on all that. But understand the United States Supreme Court being the Supreme Court of all the land, and you can take cases there, even a state case you can take to the Supreme Court if for some reason you felt that the local court at the state level could do something. But but it doesn't hurt to try, and you just gotta you just gotta learn to find out where that information is at, and a lot of it's for free. You can't hurt yourself by going to a law library and learning how to shepherdize cases. It can't hurt by investing in the tools, whether it be Westlaw or Fastcase, or buying memberships to different things. And there's ways where the knowledge is expensive, but it's worth it. Because you're able to represent your clients better.
I used to have a phone app, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but if you were to put somebody's first and last name and their city in, you could pull up a bunch of their information. I used to use it when I was working for that tax attorney. And I can't remember the name of the app. But there's a lot of stuff you can get out there.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I would recommend to somebody, and I recommend it to people in custody, and this is how they learn of how things work, is you want to go, and if you want to find a case that's related to what you got going on, depending on, and you typically want to look at appellate cases because those are the cases that steer the direction of the law, and find out where it's at. And once you find that, in some cases like Fordyce, it's a 3-word, I think it's a 3-word sentence about filming the police. And it's really insignificant. I mean, you could read all of Fordyce and go, why the fuck is the quotation about filming the police? And you go, I got to actually read this shit. And you got to read it. And that takes time. And you just can't scan it because you got to understand the spirit in which it was written in. Because a lot of people don't understand that these aren't just one judges. These are panels. These are panels of judges, and they're judges that were appointed at different times, and they're different ages, and they're different people. But but every court's different. I like the ninth. I like the ninth. The fifth isn't so bad. The 11th isn't that bad. The third's becoming more and more tolerant as far as the recognizing the rights of the individual, and over the rights of the state. The state doesn't have any rights; they have authority, and a lot of people get that confused. But it is what it is, and we're doing our best. The best we can do to help change the system, and people may get overwhelmed in that, but then you got to realize that you're only one person. And you only do what you can do. That's why I didn't. That's why when I was in the fire service, that I was able to go back to the station and go to sleep, because I knew that every call I ran on, I gave my best. I did everything I could do for that person or that patient or the fire or whatever the situation was. So as long as you have that conscience that you've done everything you can, then what else can you do? So, but some people stay up at night. I ain't got that fucking problem. I go to bed. I go fucking close my eyes. And that's what it is. I'm blessed not have the insomnia. I mean, believe me, there was periods of time that I fucking would get up and go, man, this sucks. But I come to realize that you can only change what you can change, and everything else is what it is. And so, much like with this situation here, with the current state of affairs with our country, it's like eating an elephant. You got to take one bite at a time. But if we have more people eating that elephant, guess what? There ain't much of that elephant to go around.
Right. Right. But, I mean, that's not to say that we don't need more people doing the audits that we're doing, because obviously there's...
The ninth is a bunch of wackos? What does that mean?
I don't know.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
What does that even mean? I don't even get that. Is that
New Jersey...
Is that like a legal term?
Yeah.
Is that what Sean Hannity told you to say? Because Sean Hannity, his hands are like butter. So you don't really... If you want to talk about conservatives and how fucking out of touch they are, and I'm not a conservative. Actually, I'm an ultra conservative, not alt-right conservative. I believe in so little fucking government. I want to be done with it at all. I think human beings can interact with third parties. Now, if you want to talk about Rush Limbaugh or Rush Lane Brain, fucking guy takes so much fucking Vicodin, he makes himself deaf, and you're gonna take that asshole's advice? He's such a piece of shit. He's got to go to the Dominican Republic and fuck chicks. And he has to use Viagra to do it. And you're going to fucking listen to that fucking guy? And then want to talk about Sean Hannity? Fuck that guy, dude. He's fake as fuck. These guys are fake. It's
they are
a contradiction. I've gotten on their shows. I've talked to these guys. I've put fucking Newt Gingrich to the fucking ringer. I said, you piece of shit. You had the opportunity to impeach fucking Bill Clinton and you fucking balked. I know why. Because you're a fucking philanderer. You were fucking cheating on your wife while she was fucking dying. Oh my God, you can't say that on the fucking radio. I just fucking did. I just fucking did. So whatever. So I call it a conservative contradiction. You cannot fucking speak ill of the military or speak ill of fucking the police. Everything else in fucking government, you can talk all the shit you want as a conservative, but you will not fuck with the police and you will not fuck with their military. And here I am. I served in the military as well, and I've served in some fucking and done some crazy shit. And so what are you gonna call me a fucking anti-military too? Fuck yourself.
This is why you just say it the way it is, and this is why I love you to death.
You love me. You can say it.
I love you to death, Felipe. You are awesome.
It's not weird.
You are just amazing, dude. You just make me laugh, and you got so much of this information. It's just ridiculous. I love it. I can sit here all night. But I'm sure that you got a family to do, so...
I'm just waiting for dinner. That's what I'm waiting on.
Oh, man. Yeah, I actually got to do that myself here pretty shortly. Guys, this is coming up towards the end here. Do you guys have any last-minute questions for Mr. Hemming? Anything else? Mr. Hemming, do you have any comments that you'd like to make on the way out?
Well, let me see. No, anybody can call me, and we can talk about it. I'm easy to find. You can call me at 888-571-5535. Or you can message me on YouTube or Facebook or through Black Coat Media at Gmail or Felipe Hemming at Black Coat Media. I mean, I'm easy to get a hold of. I'm not hard to get a hold of. Really and truly, don't be scared. You're not going to overwhelm me. I will answer the phone. Odds are you'll call and somebody else will call at the same time. And I will try my best. I'm not perfect. I may forget to call you back. It's not personal. Please don't take it personal. Please don't.
Well, we thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Hemming. We definitely thank you for your valuable time and your ultra intelligent input, as always. But I think this is where we're going to call it tonight. Hey, guys, thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for supporting Mr. Hemming and the Hemming Law Firm. Remember, you can get in touch with him. You want to give that number one more time, Mr. Hemming?
It's 888-571-5535.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Remember, stay free, stay safe, and always exercise your rights. This is Maddie with Constitutional Corner, and my special guest tonight, Mr. Felipe Hemming from the Hemming Law Firm. I wish I had one of those, like, clapping, mad applause type sound effects right now, but... Yay! Budget cuts, exactly. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being on here tonight, guys. And you guys take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Alrighty, thanks.
Thanks. All right, we're off.